I would like to just touch on what happened that is commonly coming up as the hashtag Slapgate at the Oscars last night between Will Smith and Chris Rock. One, I respect both of them in their respective industries, what they've done in their lives, their successes, their journeys, the good, the bad, the everything. Okay. I really, really want to say that. And it's because I do. I do honor them. I'm glad that God has given them these gifts. I'm also glad that God has given Chris Rock the humility to be the bigger person in all of this for a great reason. Give me 1 second here. Just need to touch up that really quickly. Sorry about that. So, nonetheless, I want to touch on what happened from a business perspective. And the reason why is because we many times look at one issue, respond to one issue, but we don't look at all issues and respond to all of them. So what I'm going to share with you today, I want you to hear, then go back and get the points. As a woman striving and not to be the best that she can be in all that God has given her, okay? As a Black woman, I am going to applaud Will for standing up for his wife. He did the wrong thing. He publicly did the wrong thing. Not that he shouldn't have stood up for his wife, but when you look at everything that was going on, that is going on in their lives since last year, in regards to this entanglement, I think he took out a lot of pent up frustrations on Chris Rock and the joke he made. If the joke had been on someone else, this would have been a different turnout. If the joke would not have been so come at a time where these other things are going on are so fresh, this would have been a different turnout. What does that have to do with business? Let me tell you. When you are in the limelight, when you are a social media influencer, when you are out there and people know who you are, even though they may not know you personally, and something goes wrong or something goes down, and you're at the forefront of that, that changes people's perspective. If we could use Kanye West and Kim Kardashian as a example, the Kardashian history as far as relationships, Kanye's history as far as his mental well-being. I would not say mental illness or anything like that, because I don't know that he's mentally ill. I think he's just real, and we don't know how to deal with that. Just as simple. Kim Kardashian, I think she came up just like all the rest of us have come up and learned from our parents, and been pushed out in front of things with and around our parents, and we don't know how to deal with the fact that they capitalized and are millionaires on some stuff that really would have shut the rest of us down. Business wise, there are some things that we just don't do because we're out there. If we want to use more examples, let's talk about Colin Kaepernick. He kneeled. He kneeled and has been ridiculed since the day he kneeled. But we want to talk about this one thing that was positive, as far as an African American husband showing up for his African American wife and the situation, the alopecia. Totally understand being inferior and concerned. She's a beautiful woman. Alopecia or not, she's a beautiful woman, right? Totally understanding being concerned about that and where you are as far as the disease. But when you are in the forefront of life, when you are in the forefront in your life, you put your life on the line to be spoken about, talked about, or whatever. I do the same thing. Now, I'm not none of them. I'm not comparing myself to them. I am not a superstar yet. But there are some things in my life that people would really try to use against me. But guess what? I tell on myself. I'm transparent for myself so that you will never get the opportunity to say something bad about me if I haven't said it for myself. If I've, and if you do find something, believe me, I have an answer for that too. The thing is that business wise, we have to take into consideration there are some things that need to be handled behind closed doors, even if we answer it the next day, even if we, it would have, I would have really been behind Will had he said from his seat, I got you, so and so, after this. We're going to keep this cordial because they're waiting for us. Listen, I don't talk about black nothing most times, right? I don't. But they're waiting for us to continue to fail in their eyes so that they have a reason not to invite us to their cookouts. You know why they come to our cookouts? Because we have fun, we're going to fight, we're going to argue, and we're going to be family after that. This particular thing is not something that you can just be family after, because this particular thing came at a point where a wound in Mr. Smith's life was still open and still salt was still being poured on it. From a business perspective, it was the wrong thing to do publicly. Now, he could have whooped his tail behind the scenes and then we could have found out about it later and we still could have supported him. But as in respect to who he is, where he is, what he does, yes, it's probably 50-50 down the middle. I'm so People are so supporting him because he came to the defense of his wife. I'm proud of him for doing that. But I'm also looking at the fact that, wait a minute, what about this thing that happened a year ago? And it might even be less than a year, but a year ago. What about this thing? What about the fact that you don't want to talk about this thing anymore, but this thing is still relevant in your lives, but you want to talk about this thing? My concern is for all parties involved, including the entanglement issue. That person, okay? We're going to say that when you look at your life as a business person, as a person in business, realize what you say and what you do and how it can be perceived. Let me use somebody. I'm just gonna use somebody I know as an example. They are excellent at what they do. Probably make $1,000 a day by what they do in their particular industry. But when I look at their Snapchats or their Instagram or any of those things, there are some things I see out there that make me say you're an entertainer more so than you are a professional in this particular industry. And it's not that I don't want anyone to be transparent, because I say this all the time. Be transparent. Share with people who you are so that they can get to know you. Just don't come back and fight people for who you are. Don't come back and ridicule someone because of who you are and where you are. Listen, men, not just black men, but men, I want you to defend your wives. I want you to be there for them. I want you to, because we as black women, sorry, drop that. Because we as black women, we need someone to be there for us. I say this all the time. I have people who support me, but I don't have people who support me publicly. I don't have people who will go out of their way to share me. I don't have people who will say, on a day-to-day basis, this is who my coach is. This is whose membership network I belong to. I don't have those people. Okay, but that's okay, because I have what I need on the back end, which right now is more than enough, because the one thing or the one person I do have is God. God makes sure I'm okay. God makes sure that the people who will publicly talk about me are blessed on the back end, if not on the front, because at some point our humility also opens up doors for us. So yes, while I'm transparent about, and you've read it in my book, if you haven't read my book, go find No Longer a Victim on Amazon by Dana Neal. That was my married name. Nonetheless, it talks about, just briefly, how I was an exotic dancer, how I was a stripper many years ago with one child. I have four now, and they're all adults. So this was many years ago. I was a stripper. And when I talk about being a stripper, I don't talk about it, being, like, oh, like it was so bad. It was a choice I made in my life that I share with people. And I make sure I share because I got out of it. And someone asked me one day, you know what? Oh, I heard you was a stripper. Like, you was going to make me feel bad about it. And she know who she is, sister-in-law. Nonetheless, when she mentioned it, she's like, oh, I heard that you were a stripper too. Why, how did you get out of it? I knew it wasn't for me. I knew I needed to get my degree. I knew I needed to focus on that. I know that everything that I put my hands to, I could make money from. But that right there, I couldn't keep doing. It had nothing to do with a man in my life. It had to do with choices I made. And if I decided at that point in time, when she asked me if I wanted to go back to being a stripper, I might have tried. I had to lose some weight or something, but I might have tried. I didn't know the Lord like I know the Lord now. And because I know the Lord, let me tell you something. There are some things that I will tell you about from my experiences. There are some things that I will tell you about from my history. There are some things that I will testify that God got me out of. But I will not let it ruin the B.A.D brand, nor will I let it ruin who I am. There are some things that I do now that people are questioning, like I smoke cigars. Yes, I do. I smoke cigars. But I smoke cigars for relaxation. I smoke cigars for, because I want to, okay? But I don't do anything that's going to be detrimental to my life. Because as someone commonly told me, another pastor, I said, you know what, how do you deal with this when people come at you? And he said, you need to remind them that it's not what goes in the body, it's what comes out that's a problem. And what came out at the Oscars last night is a problem. And until we reach deep and talk about that problem, we will never understand the depths of why he got up out his seat, walked on that stage, and hit that man. He hit that man because he didn't hit the other man. So he figured, well, let me play catch up. And see, once we talk about that, and this is me, because I don't do problems, I do solutions. So for me, the solution on a business perspective is, one, this was not handled correctly, but two, that we have to look at the entire situation. I'm praying for everybody involved. Don't get me wrong, I am. I'm mentally praying. I'm always mentally praying, but I'm praying now. Why? Because we at a certain point in our lives, can I talk to the Black people? We at a certain point in our lives, and we do this, and we find excuses for it all the time. But we at a certain point in our lives have to touch on everything, not just the one thing that pisses us off, not just the one thing that makes us happy. Let me give you one more point in regards to that. Now, I will also tie it into business. We will get mad at police officers because of what's happening, police brutality, them killing Black men and Black women, okay, with no precedences, right? But we don't want to talk about the fact that we are killing people in our own neighborhoods. Last week, I had to call the police on the fact that it wasn't just gunfire that I heard in my neighborhood. They were shooting at each other. And it wasn't just in my neighborhood. It was on my block. There's kids that live on this block. We're not talking about the fact that there's men out there killing their baby mamas who are pregnant with their kids. We're not talking about that. But we will drive home the fact that police officers are killing Black men. Am I saying that one washes the other, or that one is not as important as the other? They're all important. So when you look at things from a business perspective, look at it at all of its importance. If you're not catching what I'm throwing down, let me tell you, you don't get to be the hood nigga. I'm going to say it just like that for those of you who don't understand. You do not get to be the hood nigga after the fact if you've never been that person all the way around. When I show up bold, I show up brazen, I show up prayer, I show up in all one situation. I show up as a ministry leader, I show up as Dana, I show up as bad queen of the round table, I show up as bad coach Dana, I show up in one situation. I show up as all of those things. Why? Because I don't keep that a secret. I don't keep that a secret. I don't keep it a secret that God gonna drop my husband off on the porch. I don't keep it a secret. I don't keep it a secret that I know people, don't know how to take me because I smoke cigars and I'm a ministry leader. I don't keep it a secret Why? Because my life is out there. I don't keep it a secret that I was hurt by a friend I've been friends with for 7 years. I was hurt. I'm no longer hurt because I prayed and I'm letting God handle everything. I don't keep that a secret. Why? Because our experiences teach us something that we're able to testify and teach other people. So here's the thing. When this situation happened less than a year ago, if it taught him anything, it in his response to that situation, it should have taught him how to respond to last night's situation. Because even though Chris Rock meant no hurt, harm, or danger, the response to that, it shouldn't have been a joke. Because obviously it's an open wound. Okay. But in response, he probably meant no harm. And because he probably meant no harm, it shouldn't have been taken as such. Let me check you in the back over here. Let's get security before I have to kick you. Let's get security before, we both whooping each other's tail in the back of the Oscars. You're not going to talk about my wife any old kind of way. I let you slide. But guess what? Tomorrow, when you're talking about the Oscars, you can retract what you said and apologize like a man, because I'm coming to you like a man. He came to him like Hood Chronicles. That's what he did last night. And let me tell you, if you don't do Hood Chronicles and everything else, don't do Hood Chronicles on this. And the reason why is because of who you are. Now, if we're going to tell Colin he can't kneel and he can't do this or that for Black Lives Matter, then we need to tell Will that even though you came up for your wife, there's some other things that we people who really are looking at the entire situation, not just this one thing, understand. So for me, let me bring it back on business, okay? Because I am the bad billionaire. I'm working this out. For me, if I fail at something in business, it's because I failed. If I failed at something in relationships, friendships, marriage, intimate relationships, I failed. I'm asking God to help me. I am not going to put it off on anybody else. I'm going to talk to you behind closed doors. And if I say something in the front and other people realize, okay, wait a minute, you're saying something on social media about this or that, so that's what that's about. 9 times out of 10, it ain't what that's about. You just took it that way because you're privy to something that you think it's about that. Listen here. Let me tell y'all something. Stay abreast of who you are, what you are, why you do it, and always be the man or woman. I'm not telling you to stand down. I'm telling you there's a different way to handle it. So when you look at your business and there's something going on in your personal life and it shows up in your business, respond to it. Respond to it. Do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, make sure that you've responded to everything, not just one thing. Make sure that your business bottom line is covered, protected, and not hurt in any way. Because after this incident, we're all going to be looking at Chris Rock and Will Smith in a different light, whether positively or negatively, in a different light. And so now that I've shared that, let me also share this. God is still in control. God. And what happened, we're all going to have to answer for. Whatever we've said, whatever we've done, we're all going to have to answer for. Why? Because we all, and I'll use these words from Will Smith, had their names in our mouths. So outside of business, we were in our flesh. So I'm publicly going to say, Lord, I repent of any and everything I said, and I'm going to leave it alone. Because for me, I have to show up for the B.A.D brand. And the B.A.D brand is something God gave me, not something I reached out for. Blessed, anointed, and destined for a reason. And I need all of you to remember all of that. repent, and move on. God bless.